Before we kick off, registrations are open for our 24-hour leadership challenge on January 10 and 11. This is no retreat. It's a test of endurance, resilience, and mindset. You'll move, learn, lead, and push beyond your limits. All the details are in the show notes or at highpl.com.au. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Leader More podcast. Our motive is to pass on what we've found helpful over the years through leading teams, running operations, and dealing with life's challenges. We hope you enjoy. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you.
Culture Movement Gym in Innaloo.
Yeah.
Pleasure to have you here. So, boxing gym?
Yeah, it's a boxing gym. So we've been in there 6 months today, actually, since
Happy
we took it
anniversary.
over. Thank you. Rob and I took it over, my business partner Rob, we took it over on the 1st of June. So it started in winter and everyone always says, oh, winter's hard. And they're like, it'll drop off when summer comes. And then they're like, oh, they'll just try to get their summer bodies. Oh, New Year's resolution. This is my gym experience forever, right? People straight away on the negative. But yeah, when you're 100 members already, I'm very proud to say that almost 50% of those members are women, which is exciting.
Congratulations.
And half of the people have probably never put a pair of boxing gloves on in their life. And the other half, some experience, right up to some people who've had some competitive fights. So the goal was to have a space where everyone can safely try boxing and the great sport that it is.
Yeah. So how did you get into it? Like, you've fought a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, only in the amateurs, and I had 12 fights, and I took the sport up quite late, to be fair. I was 28. I'd been living the fun life. I'd moved over to Melbourne. I lived there for 8 years. My metabolism had slowed down, you could say, and I needed to trim up a little bit. So I wasn't always into fitness. I just rolled into this gym. It was a boxing gym for fitness, lose a little bit of weight. And they had one of those sort of zero to hero, take your everyday people, train them up for 8 weeks and put them in a fight. So I was like, all right, that sounds fun. I'm a yes person. Which is ironic because we're about to host the Perth Corporate Rumble here next year, which is a very similar event. And then I loved it. Did 3 of them and then went on to do 12 amateur fights.
Okay, so how much training before your first fight, did you say?
It was 8 or 12 weeks. I know Perth Corporate Rumble is 8. But yeah, it was about 14 years ago now. So I think it was 8 weeks. Yeah.
So
I was still pretty chunky getting into it. I was watching an old video the other day. I was like, I won't be sharing that one.
It's just the start, isn't it? Yeah. But I get a yes person, but like getting into a ring, like that's not.
Yeah.
And for a female as well, that's not a normal thing as such, I would say.
Well, I'd always kind of prided myself on being pretty tough. And that was humbling when I got into boxing. And I often say that boxing changed the trajectory of my life for many reasons. And yeah, it was terrifying. And every single fight was terrifying beforehand. But like the adrenaline afterwards was always just like an experience that you don't get doing absolutely anything else.
Okay. Yeah. Any sports growing up, like outside of
basketball?
Basketball, yeah.
When I was younger.
Yeah, I can see you've got the height.
Yeah, I was,
sorry.
I was a guard, all right? I was a guard. I was in the state team for Tasmania, for a small state. I was 12, travelled to Melbourne and Adelaide and used to love basketball. But yeah, just kind of fell off in my teenage years, found other not so healthy hobbies, I guess you could say, and took a different path there for a while. And yeah, veered back. One of my brothers was a very good boxer when he was a teenager, so had been around it a little bit.
That was an influence,
Yeah, he was very good, but he sort of, went a little bit AWOL as well. But it wasn't a choice, like it was sort of a boxing for fitness when I walked in there, but I loved it.
What was it about the competitive side of it? Was it just proving to yourself that you were tough enough, or what did you find?
I guess that was the thought process initially. But then it just became about so much more, right? It is such a different emotional release. And I often talk now about it being an emotional regulation for men and women. And over the course of my time boxing, I stopped wanting to fight people. It's like I learned so much about myself, I guess, through growing up. And when you can fight, you're not out there looking for fights. It humbles you. You learn a discipline. You learn a different respect for people. You're facing off against somebody else. They're scared. Anyone who says they're not is lying. There is always an element of nerves. It just really changes you and turns you around. Yeah, plus, I wasn't fat anymore, so that was fun.
I'm not stopping ever.
Well, that's interesting because I had then told myself this story that I had to keep doing it or I'd get fat again. Yeah. And then I was 32. My last fight was a TKO. I was fighting for the world selection trials, completely out of my depth. It was my 12th fight. She was just far better than me and more experienced and younger. And that was my last fight. And that was a really big learning, right? Because I was able to be she's just better than me. I tried really hard. And I'm going to stop now because I can't really go any further than this. I'm 32 at this point. What's the point? It served a massive purpose in my life, but I kept training forever. And the sport itself has brought far more, positive influence into my life. And then I've been able to share that with people around me than the actual competitive bouts themselves.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about that because I imagine that's one of the big drivers of what you're doing at the gym, right? What is that? Is that just it centers you?
So I think similarly to training, physical transformation is only just scratching the surface, right? It is the internal transformation that happens. You'll have people who come in to the gym. A few months, they're coming out like this, right? And it's like something inside shifts for you to change the way you walk in the world. And I think for me, boxing, it just helped give me a physical strength that I had never had before, turn into a real confidence, not a masked confidence that was really just fear as, my adolescent and teenage years, which created some poorer behaviours than boxing. I think it's just a power. It's a power that you feel that I hadn't felt doing anything else. The way you carry yourself, you go for a job interview. That's not as scary as someone trying to punch you in the face. So it just helps navigate difficult things, do hard things, makes life easier as you carry on. And I will often say that, you're standing head to toe with someone who is trying to knock you out. There's not a lot of things that are scarier than that. And once you've survived that a number of times, everything else gets less scary.
Yeah. There's a new baseline.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting because I haven't trained from a boxing point of view, but...
Well, you can come down anytime, Dan. 7-day free trial for you.
Yeah, beautiful. But, going to a gym, and no disrespect to people going to gym or gyms out there, but essentially, what are you training for?
It's interesting you say that. Obviously, I started boxing for that reason. I was fat. I didn't want to be fat anymore. Yeah. And it transformed my feelings of fitness altogether. And when people ask me that question now, why do you train so much? I'm training for life. I'm training to live for as long as I can. I'm training to be the best version of myself as I can. It's also a huge circuit breaker for me in my day. I would train at 6 a.m. every morning if I wasn't working, but I'll go at lunchtime whenever I can. And I feel that difference of a reset in my brain. But you've got to like it. And I say that to people too. You've got to find something you like doing. You're going to be more likely to go. So it's in the gym about making it an enjoyable experience. People need to look forward to going or they're not going to come. Yeah. And that goes beyond just the boxing. That's the entire environment, which is sort of where we've landed on this new culture movement.
Pretty rewarding seeing someone come in hunched over on day one and then how long does it take you fight?
It depends on how often they come, obviously. 3 months is usually a good point of really things starting to click and seeing improvement. And that's the beauty for me. I see so much transformation beyond the nailing the combinations. I see the transformation. I see everybody finding their place in a community and friends and, people will start on a 2-class membership and then they'll want to upgrade so they can come every day. That's not because they want to be a world champion boxer. Yeah. That's because they want to be there. And that when someone does that, that's probably one of my most favourite things, and not because of the money. It's like they want to come here because it makes them happy.
So the techniques and boxing itself is the vehicle for that.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, that's the platform. And so I've got a real philosophy that, like, we deliver our classes, it's correct technique. Like that is, mandatory. You are learning, but you are always working while you're learning. And what I mean by that is, if someone's like, oh, they're moving, so that's okay. No, it's not. We're still going to correct their technique, always. And if you have to do that a million times, you're still going to do it, but in a way that you're coaching them to learn and exercise and burn at the same time. And I think we're nailing that really well. And that you need to have a level of awareness to be able to do that too, because not everybody's at the same level. So you've got to be able to sort of manage that. And so those sort of skills all coming together, boxing skills, high emotional intelligence, awareness, they're rare in one person. And so we're building our team around that, and I'm working a lot.
It's good. And what do you find, like, going from 100 members, I think, from nothing to 100, right?
Yeah.
In 6 months. What do you find personally that, to help people along that way? Because I imagine they've got to build a fair amount of trust with you and the team.
So I will know every single person's name that walks through the door of the gym.
Even before you've met them? Okay.
Yeah. So they'll book in, obviously, and I will study that list before every single class, and there'll be someone that I don't know on that list, so I'll know that that's that person's name. Or there might be three. Last week I had 3 new people in a class. One was Ellen, one was Elle, and one was Ella.
Okay.
And I was like,
someone's testing you.
So I just called them all Elle. But yeah, I think definitely a lot of people come through Instagram, right? Having a look, who they know, who's referred them, make the connection, know that connection, have that conversation.
So putting in some time, yeah.
And asking questions to hear the answers, not just asking questions just for the sake of asking a question. Remembering the things about people, asking them next time you see them, building that rapport. And I'm genuinely interested in people, right? I love hearing about people. I've lived as an expat overseas. Moved over east, finding this connection of 60 degrees of separation, which feels like 2 in Perth. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's really important to not just knowing someone's name and using it. So the class runs, I haven't forgotten the name. I use every single person's name.
Okay.
I make little videos of the class. I make sure every single person's in that video as much as possible. Things like that, everyone is seen, everyone is supported, everyone is treated exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. And it's like, you break it down in sports is cool with this sort of stuff, isn't it? Because it's essentially you're just preparing for, you're preparing like you would for a sport.
Yeah.
Essentially you're doing some pre-work to understand what's going on. And it's funny, I imagine too, when you say someone's name before you even meet them, they're like, oh, how did you know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's here.
Yeah.
But,
and
the fact that you've gone and taken that effort.
They'll often be following already. So I'll remember, I'll say, oh, that person's on Instagram. Yeah, I've seen this, I've seen that, just sort of relate it back. But yeah, I think that's a really key point. In the early days, and sometimes I still do this at the end of class, well, every class I'll make them sort of circle through and fist pump, but I'll say, introduce yourself to someone if you haven't met them yet in the room. And people sometimes just need that little prompt, because usually people can be scared to just go and introduce themselves. Once they've got the prompt, you've got to shut them up, pull them apart. So I never have any trouble giving the prompts or, being the person to make a bit of fun of myself, to lighten the energy in the room. And then people just feel a little bit more relaxed, and also being able to correct people without making them feel stupid or singling them out or, things like that. Just being aware of those situations. And
it's a given that you'll have to build a relationship with them to earn the right to be able to give them feedback, because you're going to be constantly giving them feedback.
Yeah.
And like it or not, people don't like feedback if it's corrective. and particularly from someone they don't know. Oh, hey, she was really lovely, and oh, she's a bit hard on me because but hey, she cares.
And there's a fine line between, commanding a room and being aggressive, right? Or being perceived as aggressive. So it's also equally as important to notice the improvement. Notice when they've nailed it. Hey, we spoke about that last week, and now that you're doing that really well. So I do that a lot. Or you look great. And people, I always say too, if you think something great about someone, tell them. That's what the world needs.
Why is all that stuff so important though? Like for you?
It's for society, right? And I've worked in so many places now that have had sort of poor leadership, egos, where the care for people is non-existent.
Just more about themselves than the team?
Yeah, or money.
Okay.
Money. Yeah. Where everything's just driven by money at whatever cost. I worked corporate, I worked mining. And so I think we live in a world where people will tear you down the second they get a chance. And I think the new culture that we're trying to create is quite the opposite. We are here to pump people up. We're human critics of ourselves enough. There's enough people in the world criticising us. Be the one who's pointing out the good stuff and helping people love themselves, help people be happy, free of this fear-mongering culture that we are often surrounded in.
Yeah, we do it enough to ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
That little voice sits along a lot. Yeah.
And I still do it too. Like if I have a new person in the class, I still get nervous. I've taken thousands of group fitness classes, thousands. And I've been told by thousands of people that they're amazing, but I'm still, every single time there's a name on that list that I don't know, I get nervous. That's something I learned from boxing. You will always get a little bit nervous about some things, but you will always be okay. It's not letting the nerves stop you from doing the good things.
I'd imagine with all that sort of stuff, competing and boxing and putting yourself out of your comfort zone there and now starting a business, have you found that there's things that that you did from a training point of view that, from a business standpoint now that you use?
Yeah, forever. Like I think generally as a person, I've always just been a survivor, right? That's my way. I grew up in the 80s. My parents are from an era that doesn't, paint a picture of love and peace. Let's just say that. Yeah. And I was always adamant that I was going to break that cycle. And that has boxing really helped me fine tune it. But I zipped off to Amsterdam and opened an F45 for someone. I'd never been to the country before. I didn't know a single person, and I'd never done that job. I was an executive assistant before that.
Yeah.
Not a very good one, but I was. And but I just went it was scary. Yeah. Work until you work it out. And I did very well there too, right? So then I did it in mining when I came back, and it's just kind of like every time you achieve it, you just get a little bit better at it, and you take those experiences and sort of trusting myself that, well, I've done this twice and I've done it very well 2 times. I might as well go do it around my greatest passion, which has always been boxing since then, for myself. So I don't have to ask anybody else for permission. I get to make the rules up. I don't have to go by fake values. I don't have to pretend to respect people because they have a title in front of their name or whatever. And that I love.
Yeah, empowering, right? Yeah. And that, I suppose, sense of duty there is that I don't want others to experience what I've experienced.
Yeah. And even I've trained in hundreds of boxing gyms over the years, and there's been certain things that I've not liked. So, I'm adamant that those things aren't going to happen in my gym. There's some great boxing gyms around, and I also have the philosophy that if there's someone doing it better, I want to go there. I want to learn. I want to be better. There's enough people for everyone. And our niche is going to be different to their niche and all of that. And that's, I've got a leadership coach at the moment, and she's been extremely helpful in sort of navigating this. But I've always had that. If someone's great at something, I want to meet them and learn from them. I've got a trainer that works for us at the moment, and he's an amazing boxing coach. He's probably a better boxing coach technically than I am. I have no trouble saying that. I'm better at other things.
The old, we're good humans and taglines like that, right?
Yeah.
You picked on a really good point there. Is just like, okay, you can say what you want, but actually living
Doing.
it, yeah.
And
that's the thing. I was sort of, just doing a little bit of research before we sort of sat down and seeing the 16 Days in WA initiative that you've got going on social media with your members, and, one each day for 16 days. It was really cool just to hear.
Yeah, that's been a really amazing little project actually for me. I cry every time I put one of those videos together. Oh. It's a very emotional topic, I guess. I've had lots of experience with domestic violence, and like many other people, didn't realise it a lot of the time until after the fact or whatever. And boxing has helped me move through that into someone who's physically strong and mentally strong, that I don't ever need to rely on anyone to protect me. And I think that's the message that I really want, particularly for women. But last year I went to a number of marches for 16 Days in WA. And I think it's equally as important to highlight that there are good men rather than having it a man-hating event. And look, no disrespect to anybody organising those events. I think they're amazing, and it is men killing women, but equally I think it is a collective responsibility of men and women to, prevent these things from happening through understanding, and women building confidence and strength, and men, having integrity and stepping up. And that is all in boxing gyms all over the world. It is bridging the gap there. And I just think it's a real missed opportunity for these types of things. It just gets overlooked because it's a misunderstood sport, or it's a misunderstood gym environment, should I say, a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I think on the domestic violence thing, it's sort of, might be accurate, or, blaming a certain group or gender, but is that going to improve?
Well, that's...
it might, it might, might be good to point a finger, and it might be accurate, but is it going to, make things better?
Yeah, and I was like, let's talk about a solution, because this is one. Like, we've... fellas in the gym covered in tattoos, they look scary. They'll be the first person to walk up and introduce themselves to a new member. They're not looking at that member's gender. They're just introducing themselves because that's a new face. There's experienced guys in there. My partner has had 90 professional kickboxing fights, but back in the day. But he's there a lot. When he's not working, he's there a lot, and he will help everyone in the gym. And I think it's just so nice. Like, it's nice for women to know, like, no, there are good men. And it's really important that that message gets across, which is why I wanted to highlight men and women. And there's such a vast variety of people in those videos. But, a few sentences of the ones I've already done are, I've been sober for 6 years and boxing's played a huge part of that. That was Kurt, or, Nicole. She came at the lowest point of her life, and now she's the happiest she's been in 10 years. And Rachel, who was going through or living through a domestic violence situation when she started at the gym held her around that time. Cara, she's 47 years old, first time she's ever felt like she can go somewhere and be herself. Hannah today, first time I've felt like I can belong somewhere, or I belong here, and I haven't had that before. And, Dan... the transformation in Dan that I've seen is enormous. Like, just the confidence, like, he had none. Yeah. And he comes and, like, he's a part of something now. And that's a lot more than just learning a boxing combination. Like, that's saving lives. And that is 6 months we've been there. And yeah, like I said, none of that's scripted. That's just there. And so I go home and make the videos. I'm like, oh my God, I can't cope here. So it's really moving, because to be able to just have that impact, like, it just goes so, you can't explain it.
It's a really lovely feedback loop, isn't it? That you're on a good path. And noticed on your website, I think it was, strong women and good men coexisting and thriving alongside each other, as a value. That transformation in women who, maybe... dealing with domestic violence and so forth. What is it about boxing? I imagine it's not so much about the physical stuff, right?
Yeah, I think so, which is why I actually ask questions in those videos. I just cut them out, but I asked, do you think your personal confidence has enhanced because of boxing? I also work with a non-for-profit organisation who support women who are living, escaping or healing from lived experience with TV. Once a week I take them on a session, and that's not like my run-of-the-mill group fitness class. It's a very small amount of time in the week, but the impact it has on those women, and like sometimes I can't even explain it, whether it's because they come and I'm a complete stranger and they instantly feel safe, where their whole life is probably feeling unsafe. And the release, like when you just, I do this ground and pound where I put a pad on the floor and they just sit over it and I'm screaming at them. It's like, fuck, everyone's cheering. And then there's tears usually, like most, because it's just a release that they don't get to do anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then I think with the consistency and longevity of that physical strength turns into internal confidence.
To be able to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, it's a different walk.
Yeah. What that knack by the sounds that you've got to make people feel welcomed and so forth. What is that like for you?
So
I know that's probably going to be difficult to talk about yourself. But
no, I mean,
what is that?
I've had a lot of, I've done a lot of personal development work over the years. I've had every kind of therapy, hypnotherapy, CBT, NLP. So yeah, that comes from feeling unsafe as a child, I think, being the person that I needed when I was a child. So I believe we are programmed from ages 0 to 6. I'm not a psychologist, but I've read a fair bit about this. Yeah. And we don't have any choice in that programming. We don't choose to be born, we don't choose our environment, and we can't do anything about it for a long time. I think my programming was, the only emotions I knew during those years were anger and fear, which led me down some tricky paths in my teenage years, and I just didn't want to be like that. So that's when I sort of started this self-development journey. Oh, I also got married when I was 24 to someone I only knew for 6 months because he was really good looking and French. And everyone said, don't do it. And I was like, I'll do what I want.
Yeah.
And I realised quickly that was sort of a mistake, but that was because I was like, oh, cool, I can lock someone in to love me forever. And I'm really proud of myself for getting out of that. It was not a bad situation, but I was like, this is not it for the rest of my life. I was about to, he's like, let's have a baby. I was like, no way. And, like my circle and my support network were like, you can't just leave. And I was like, watching. And I left and I moved to Melbourne for 8 years, but that through that understanding why did I do that? And so, I've always craved a safety net, I guess, and rather than taking shortcuts to get them that were going to essentially fuck me up down the track, I've worked on myself and now I build them for myself and other people.
That self-reflection, Courtney, that's, I don't know, it's not that easy sometimes.
Yeah,
what have you found has helped you? Like just to look at situations and go, oh, shit, I probably, that wasn't the best idea.
Well, yeah, I think building myself up to like myself, doing things that are good for me, healthy for me, being a person to other people that I want people to be to me, and that was quite a transition. Like through my high school years, I'm not proud of the person that I was back then. And once you get closer and closer to that, it's easier to sort of talk about the things that you didn't do so well and what you've done then to rectify them or change. So we're only here for like a short time, right? And I think we are in our society dominated by fear of judgment, fear of what other people are going to say or think, or we're not going to make it, or all of this. And it's like, these are all just stories made up in our head.
We get stuck in the comfort zone, don't we?
Yeah. So I think moving away from my hometown was a really instrumental part of growing.
Help you grow up quicker, you reckon?
Yeah. So Melbourne, but definitely Amsterdam. Like you make friends with people you would not ever meet or sort of associate with. One, because you're on the other side of the country, but two, because you have to. You don't just get you have to just talk to everyone to have people around you, or you're by yourself. So that was an amazing experience for me in growth and as a person.
And you're probably forced to too, because you can't really hide away in your room, essentially, because if you're running the gym, you've got people coming in. It's like, oh, okay.
And it's actually like a really small town, Amsterdam, right? So we had a couple of 250 members, I think, at that gym, and cycling around everywhere.
It's a beautiful country.
And it's like I felt like I was on the Truman Show sometimes, on the bike, going around. But yeah, it was definitely great for personal growth. Moving away from your comfort zone, I think everybody should do that for us, even just for a small period, because it just teaches you about who you are. What do you really value that you haven't just been told to value, or friendships that you have just because you've always had them. It's okay to move on from people. You don't have to hate them. Also, expat life, people come and go a lot. And that's a huge learning. It's like, it's being able to not, if I was upset every time someone left, I'd always be crying again. So it's sort of like, cool, like they were awesome. It was really awesome to meet them. Someone else will fill that void in my life here, won't replace them, and they'll bring new and different experiences to my time here. So learning that as well was like really instrumental too. So you take that into your next, whatever it is that you do.
Yeah, you lift your baseline, don't you? Of what you're able to do. A bit of self-doubt though before you went to Amsterdam? Like, oh shit, I don't know about this? Or
I had no clue what I was doing. So I wound up I opened an F45 there for someone because I'd won a competition in Melbourne for a free membership at one of the F45s because it was all the hype at the time.
Okay.
I would have never stepped foot in an F45 if I didn't win that free raffle, whatever it was, because I went boxing all the time. But I was like, oh, well, it's free. I'll go and give it a crack. And it was right near my little executive assistant job. So I'd go there in the morning and I'd go to work and then I'd go boxing. And they just said, after a couple of months, oh, we're going to open a studio in Amsterdam. Would you go there and run it? And I was like, sounds cool. Sure. I'd come off the back of a not so great relationship as well. And I was sort of deep diving again at that time. And you know what? Like, I wasn't that scared. I'd be more scared now, I think. But I was excited. Like, I don't think I really assessed, really took into account what I was doing.
Yeah. How old were you at the time?
I was 32.
Yeah.
So it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Lived there for nearly 3 years and came back during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, but super proud of what I did there.
Yeah.
They basically just dropped me off there and I just worked until I worked it out.
Like, they're a super smart race of people in Holland, right? They can speak 3 or 4 languages normally.
It was great.
Did you have to learn?
No.
No, you didn't. So you just
I
English.
tried. I did try. I had some lessons. And I was like, nah, you don't have to.
Like, I spent a little bit of time there and, it was amazing that in the school system, like, they're learning English, French, German, and Dutch. They're 5 or 6 years of age.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ, I struggle with English.
Yeah, I know. We are very uncultured in comparison.
Yeah.
But that was also a huge expat community. So there was a lot of Australians, Kiwis, there was a lot of Americans, Canadians, Scottish, it was great. It was truly amazing. We went back. My partner and I went back last year and had a visit and caught up with a whole heap of people that used to work there. And actually, I went and took a class there for him.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a new owner now who I knew
Special
through
guest
that. And she was like, would you take a class? I was like, oh, yeah. And I hadn't done it in, a long time. I think it had been 4 years. But, just jumped in and, that was fun.
Was there much training, like, the principles or what you did there at F45 that you do now in the boxing side of things?
I think in the early days of F45, when with the original founders, they nailed the gym community stuff really well. Okay. That's what I think.
People working out together as such and not just by themselves?
Yeah. And that was their whole hype from day one. It's like, we will deliver, hang on, let me think of it. It is like a personal experience. It is like a personal training experience in a group fitness atmosphere. That was the slogan kind of thing. Yeah. And I think they really built community in gyms. That was the first time I'd heard that'd be all the rage, and that people went back for the community. People were replicating it.
Yeah.
And I just got a bit greedy, They took it to the American Stock Exchange, and Mark Wahlberg bought it, and then I think the founder got
kicked
out. But great for him, because then COVID came and he took off with his millions. And the arseholes probably got what they deserved.
Yeah.
But it's really dropped off here in Australia. It still goes well over there.
Yeah.
I think they're learning the names, all that type of stuff. That was sort of a format. But yeah, boxing, it's very different. Yeah.
That was your first experience sort of running something like that. So yeah, the community aspect, but they're getting to know the team.
What they did very well was, it's on time. It's 45 minutes because you're in and you're out in 45 minutes. And I keep that value. I think that's really important.
That's what you guys do at your classes?
Some are an hour, but I just mean, if it starts at this time, it starts at that time. There's no starting 5 minutes late, finishing 10 minutes later. No. If it's a fighters team, and we don't have that yet, but when we get to that, then that's different. You stay as long as you need to stay. But for the purpose of this, and in this day and age when people are time poor, they're rushing, operating on time is something very important to me. Says me, who arrived half an hour late today. I know, but I got lost.
You can beat me up, so I won't say a word.
But yeah, I think things like that, they were big on that because they were but they were big on it for the wrong reasons, right? Because they were just trying to bang as many classes out as they could. If I go to a gym and it starts 5-10 minutes late, I'm raging on the inside. I'm already pissed off and I haven't even started working out. If you're paying for a service, you got to get the service or deliver the service that you're telling people you're going to deliver.
Yeah. So with the setup at New Culture, do you have classes is set times in the mornings where everyone's together?
Yeah. So we recently just changed our gym software because we started with the software. We had 2 weeks, right, to get in that gym, and it took me 3 to clean it. Let's just say that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And so I wasn't happy with the first one, so I just migrated 2 weeks ago. So that was a huge job. But yeah, everything, because if you've got a 2-class membership, they need to book in, Also, it's not a massive space, so we need to cap numbers and things like that, and track data. So if the classes are full every week for 2 weeks, well, we need more classes. Which classes are full? Yeah. That type of stuff. So data analyzing and. But yeah, and also learning people's names, building the rapport.
Well, it fits with what you're about, with the environment, right? And the culture that you want to have. If you have them off all doing their own separate thing, well, it's harder for you to get around as well and have that. Whereas you got them all together, they're with someone leading it, right? Yeah,
no, we don't do open gym. It's all just classes, PTs, and we'll bring in some kids classes next year. Just need to get another coach.
What's been the biggest struggle with the first 6 months?
Time,
yeah. Okay, so you want to do all these things and you don't have time to do it?
Yeah, I think my brain works faster than I'm able to keep up with it a lot of the time.
Is that frustrating?
Yeah. It's because I'm always just like, how can we be better? How can I do this? And I think building a team is paramount. Obviously going to be very particular about who that team is because they have to embody those values as well as have boxing skills. Boxing skills are very important. We have a lot of coaches around that are teaching boxing in some interesting ways. Sort of.
I like your little sarcasm there.
I don't like slag people off really, but
it's not for you. Yeah.
Yeah, having real technique is very important for injury and everything.
Well, so respect to the sport.
Yeah, and then their values. They have to embody those values. So it takes a little while to sort of make sure people do that. So, building the team. I'm also a little bit of a control freak. So, not being there when they're there has been hard for me, but I'm getting better at that. But I love it. Like I say, we go to bed tired every night. Wake up tired every morning, go to bed happy every night. Yeah. I'm going on holidays in 2.5 weeks. And
Is it going to be okay without you?
I don't care. Nah. Rob Well, Rob's actually still works full time.
Yes.
So he's sort of there on weekends and stuff, but he's got December off, so he'll be there. We've got Noel as well. He'll be around. They're probably excited that I'm going away those two. Nah.
So they can take a breath.
Yeah.
No, it's a common thing. Like I feel it with running a business is that
Yeah.
creativity isn't an issue. Actually getting the time to do the things
Yeah.
is, and I find, myself giving myself a hard time a lot because, oh shit, you had this idea 3 months ago and you still haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And there's a number of those that pop up, finding those things that will make you better, or things, that will be a new product or whatever it may be, or a new way to do things, or something on your website, or whatever it may be. Or I want to change something physically in the gym, but like physically getting to it.
Yeah.
God.
Actually, the physical stuff in the gym I find quite therapeutic. Like the amount of times I've rearranged. I've got this like little kitchen out the back, and it was like a shit show. I reckon I've rearranged about 6 times, and then I'll go and I've bought another little cabinet, and I'm like, no, that doesn't work. And if I feel stressed, I will just rearrange the furniture a little bit, and it calms me down. It's like a circuit breaker for me.
It's a job that I can, I can do and complete in a short period of time, and I can see that it's done.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Creating space where there's no space. I've always really loved doing that. So yeah, I mean, we will run out of space. Like the vision is to just keep on growing and getting as many people in there as possible. But it isn't that big. I think it's about 170 square meters.
Okay, yeah.
It's a great shape, so it's a direct rectangle. But yeah, either having a second location down the track. Rob thinks it's a shorter track than I do, but we'll see. Or a bigger location. Yeah.
At the early days, a lot of self-doubt in regards to what you were doing and what your product was, or was it pretty clear to you guys? That...
So I knew what the product was. So for me, like Amsterdam, I started that gym from scratch. When I moved back, I worked for a mining company who has a really big, fancy office locally, who were building a building with an 800 square metre gym, and I was there from construction phase, and I started that gym from scratch.
So,
both of those were very successful. So I knew, and leaving Amsterdam was really hard. Leaving the mining was also hard because I treat them like my own. That's how I'm always going to work. But by the time I left mining, I was able to go, no, I'll be okay. Like I've done this twice for other people. I didn't leave that for this gym. I left with nothing to go to, but I was like, just trust. You'll always land on your feet. So I think having less doubt going in, doubt creeps up in other areas.
Okay.
But I was like, just have to trust. You have to physically be aware of that though. I've done it. It actually cannot fail.
Just keep reaffirming it.
It can't fail. That was something I said to myself a number of times when going in. Can't fail, won't fail. Yeah.
And goals moving forward, like you said, you wanted to get bigger. What do you feel like the max number of members you could get at that location?
Maybe 150 would be the probably. We'll see. I'm always room for one more kind of person. But different services, like, we will have fighters. People will eventually want to start fighting out of our gym. So we'll sort of branch off with some fight team training, some kids classes, potentially maybe some women's classes as more of an intro. I don't want to have women's classes permanently because I don't think you should need to.
Okay.
But
why is that? I
think when I was working on site and they had a women's gym, I was like, why do they have a women's gym? Why don't they just address the issues as to why they need a women's gym?
Okay.
Right? They need a women's gym because women feel uncomfortable because there's a whole heap of creepy people. And so I just think it's sort of encouraging the divide, right? Where you shouldn't really need to have the divide. Do some things that bridge that gap.
Bridge the culture.
I think it will attract people in. And often once I've met people, they will know. And if there was any behaviours that made someone feel uncomfortable and they spoke to me about it, I would address that situation. So I think it's more, we might have some of that female sparring because you're not going to spar with men. That's an unfair disadvantage, obviously. But I think generally you don't want to promote the divide. And that goes against all of our values. We're about bringing people together, no matter who you are.
Yeah, no, I like it. How'd you get injuries-wise and stuff? Mad dramas? Or?
Yeah, I didn't get injured boxing, but I did have a pretty big injury on a holiday whilst I was boxing.
So what did you do? You went on a training camp or something?
No, just a fun camp. So I think I'd been boxing for like 2 years hard out, and then I went on a bit of a Euro adventure.
All right.
Broke my ankle. I was on a sail Croatia, and we went, and I hounded him because I was drinking more than I usually would at this point. So we've got to get up and do some exercise. Let's go hire a bike, and I fell off the bike.
Okay.
And I was sober, probably still over the limit because it was morning. But I like put my foot down. Anyway, I couldn't wait there, and it just ballooned out. But it was only day 2 of the 7 days. So I was like, oh, it's a sprain. I'll be okay. Hobbled around on it, pissed for a week. Had to be flown home. Still got a plate and 6 screws in my ankle. And so that really, that was right in the middle of my boxing.
Okay.
And I thought it was the end of the world. Like, I was such a whinging, complaining. Like, it was the worst thing. I had to learn to walk again. And now I'm like, fuck, I carried on about that. Really, how embarrassing. And I've still got them in there. But yeah, so I had a fight 90 days after that operation.
Really?
Completely unprepared. Because my coach wanted to, be the one to get me into the ring, in record time.
More about him then.
Yeah. And that was a lot of boxing, actually.
Yeah, what is that then?
I was 30 as well. 28 I started. So I wasn't a kid.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, and I'm going to say men, coaches who it would become about, I hate that coach. You got to flog that person because I hate that coach. And I'm like, this is a hobby for me. Eh? Also, that's not how you should lead youth and children. It comes from insecurities. I think you've never done anything else in your life. Now you're a boxing coach and you think you have some sort of authority over people. And I didn't like that at all. I went to the Australian titles twice and the world selections. And there were just things that I saw going on that I was like, I don't think that's a really good role model for young people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I imagine there's an element now where you want to make a difference with that.
Well, just be different. So it's not people fight out of our gym, they're never going to have that experience. And that's sort of my philosophy when we have fighters, especially young people going in there, like it's all for them.
Yeah.
Everything is for them. It's for them to have a great experience. That's why I said yes for Perth Corporate Rumble coming to use our gym. The people going into that have no idea the transformation that they can have in that time. And I live for that. I love that. I love seeing that. And everything is for them. I think that's a great way to start boxing. It's a really fun way to meet people, be around people. But yeah, I used to hate that in some boxing coaches, certainly not all. There's a lot of great boxing coaches that I know that are great leaders. But yeah, if anybody is fighting out of our gym, it'll be all about them and to enhance their experience and life skills.
Help them improve, anyone else.
Yeah.
The corporate boxing. So what do you guys do there? You have them for a training camp?
So this is the first time, obviously, because we've only been in the gym for 6 months. They used to have a gym in West Perth called Anarchy Boxing Gym, and when I first moved back from Amsterdam, I went there for a couple of months because I was living in the city. And, again, Perth is super small, so Nigel and Glenn run the corporate boxing. They sold Anarchy, and they were just using a gym in Burragoon called Counterbalance, which I believe has recently sold.
Okay.
So, they just reached out. I know quite a few mutual friends, connections, and they will train in our gym outside of our schedule. So how it sort of works is everybody trains together for 4 weeks, and then they match. They make fight matches and they split into 2 teams. So there's a red team and a blue team, and then they train separately. So on different evenings after our gym classes are done, red team, for example, will train 2 nights, blue team will train the other 2 nights. And on the weekends, there'll be, I believe, training, sparring maybe, and using the recovery facilities at Bibra Lake, Raw MMA in Bibra Lake.
Yeah.
So they're sharing it between North and South. And so, yeah, I am assigned to one of the teams. No, I hope, might be wrong, but will likely be on another one of the teams. So they'll have a coaching team, I guess, of 3 or 4, because there's 13, 15 fights or something on the night. It's held at Crown. It's a huge black tie event. There's a silent auction. They raise a lot of money for a charity. They have a selected charity called SAPA, I believe, which is raising funds for disadvantaged children or children with disabilities. So, yeah, it's just really cool. I'll be in the corner. So really great learning experience for me too. Super excited for that. Like I know that that'll just bring a lot more people, not just into the gym, but just see a lot more people have like such an epic transformation. And no one ever does these things and says, oh, that was shit. You know, like it's always because that adrenaline and that experience you get is just not like anything you will get doing anything else. And it's scary. And then when you overcome that, it's so rewarding. It's so empowering to overcome the fear. Yeah, so that starts in February and the fight is at the end of March, the fight night.
And I suppose too, for you, like that was essentially how you got into boxing, right?
Yeah, so they didn't know that actually. I was telling them and they're like, oh, cool.
Oh, that fits.
Yeah. So I know firsthand like how great that was for my whole life, you know, and the changes that then came after that. And like one of my best friends still to this day was someone I met through that. You know, I ended up flatting with her in Melbourne for 3 years, and she's got her own podcast actually. Same colours too.
Oh, really? I'll give her a plug.
Roll with the punches. So she started up in COVID.
Excellent. I have to look it up.
Yeah. But yeah, she's still one of my best friends. So and I met her there, and a lot of my friends have come through, you know, gyms and boxing. And actually, something about the gym that I did think the other day. You think about all the people you know who are going to join your gym, but you don't really think about the people that you don't know or are going to meet because you don't know them, right? And there's just been so many amazing people come through those doors, so many different people, and that's what I love, bringing the differences of society together in one space. And just the messages. You know, if people stop and take the time to send you a message to thank you for enhancing their life, there's no mining paycheck that feels that good, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, and that's, you know, your motives sound very pure. If that's your fuel, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about how many members you get because of how much that means to the bottom line. It's about the
money
impact.
will never come before culture in our gym.
Yeah.
And we work super hard. Like we embody all of our values for that. But it's an energy, right? You can't fake energy. People feel it. They forget what you said or what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel. And I truly believe that people will feel it. And if they feel uncomfortable, they don't come back. And that's sort of the difference is if someone feels uncomfortable in our gym, I want to know about it.
For people to put like their body on the line and also money too, because it costs, I think it costs them like $5,000 or something. Or something like that, is it? Or
I think to enter, so they get sponsored for 4.5, I think.
Yeah.
And usually their work or someone that they know. You know what? I'm not going to say his name, but in our gym we've got a young kid and he's about 20 and he's a beautiful, beautiful young man. First to say hello to every single person in that room. He's had hardship in his life and he wanted to do it. And I was like, I think it costs about $4.5 grand. Another member is like, I'll pay for him.
Oh, really?
I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he works on the mines and he's someone who's had a really big transformation from like, say, a confidence point of view and his skill level. And he's like, I've got plenty of money and not like a wanker. I've got plenty of money. I can afford it. And he's been a great person. I'd love to be able to help him. I'll just pay for him. And I was like, crying again. But you know,
and
then a couple of weeks later, that young man is like, "Oh, I actually know someone who will sponsor some of it." You know, so they usually can have a couple of sponsors pay for that.
Is that unusual to have a gym that's run by a woman, like boxing?
Well, yeah, there's definitely far fewer. I know of a few. Okay. Erin McGowan, and she was a world champ, you know, and she's got a smaller studio in Balcatta. She's a gun, right? Like, but I've had some men tell me that some men, I'm not fucking going to be trained by a woman. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, you go have fun wherever else you are. And men want to come and join. And it's been really hard for me to say this. But Rob and I have a thing where it's like everybody has the opportunity to change if they're in the right environment. You know, so I would say that was a little bit of a misogynistic approach. But let's put some gloves on and do some sparring. No, I don't really. But, you know, I think you have men who are threatened by a woman being better than them at boxing, well, that is not a boxing issue, mate. That's your own self-esteem. But I think it's changing because there's a lot more women boxers. You know, there's a lot more, you know, the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano trilogy fights were like, you know, the most watched boxing events in however long. And that was the first time that's ever happened. Katie Taylor is an Irish boxer who basically put female boxing on the map. And she is the most humble, amazing fighter ever. She used to pretend to be a boy so she could fight because they weren't allowed to. So I think, yeah, it's always going to have that stigma. And unfortunately, like, there is still corruption, you know, in professional boxing. And that's why my sole focus isn't on the competitive side, right?
You haven't said it all around, hey, I want to train the next world champion.
Yeah, no.
That's not your driver. I want to have the best athletes or train the best athletes. Like, that's not your driver.
Just helping people be better people, helping people live freely. So building confidence and mitigating fear. And if people want to go and try and have a fight, that's why I love the corporate rumble. It's not about your next world champion. And let's be real, there's not many world champions. Like, there's not many people you're going to have come through Australia who are going to become a world champion. It's just the facts. So I'm also a realist, right? And yeah, it's not my motive. Just like I've never been driven by money. So I walked away from that. I think people acting out of fear, you never get the best version of anyone when they're acting out of fear. And our society is more and more of a fear-mongering society. And so being somewhere that's stripping that back down.
Yeah, and making a difference.
Yeah.
And instead of just commentating about it, you're
doing. Backed by action. Yeah.
You like that one? Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a good one. Where I walked away from that corporate job in mining, I was paid a lot of money there. It didn't matter. I was still like driving home from that place and my head was literally exploding. Like, how are these people going to sleep at night, honestly? And like, I was just like, it's not worth my nervous system. Like, why? What am I doing this for? Like,
it's just not aligned to your values.
I physically could not stay in that environment. And so, when I say they're our values, like, I have to live them and do them. Sometimes I'm going to stuff that up. Oh, and they'll remind me if I do, don't you worry. They love to catch me out, the members now. But it's also just humility, right? Like, okay, sorry, I fucked that up. And that's another thing in the gym. I'm like, reset, go again. And I will say, I get quite angry about this one. If you make a mistake and you do this, you just got knocked out, right? So you reset, you go again. Like,
don't have time.
You choose to be here. This is a hobby for you. If you can't reset and go again because you make a tiny little mistake, what hope have you got out there when something else hard comes along? So it's like trying to integrate those sort of messages. And it's a bit funny now because I say that quite a lot, but then they stop doing it, right? So I've just drilled it. And also, like, teaching people how to hold focus pads is quite challenging. I find it's not common. People don't always teach people how to hold. My dream is to have a gym full of pad holders because I've been to a lot of gyms who can't hold
Would you say that outside of, just seeing the transformation in people, would you say that that's probably the second most rewarding part of the job, that you do get an opportunity to pass on some things like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I think that they
Whether
go,
they like it or
go
not,
hand
by the
in
sound.
hand, right? Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like I'm an interesting sort of character to people too, because I definitely look scarier than I am. But, like
Have people told you
they'll
this,
sort of
or
make out like I'm scary, but then they love me. I'm like, well, I can't be that scary, because you like deep down, I'm an extroverted empath. Right? So I'm like 98% extroverted, 98% empathy is a fucking paradox, because everyone's comfortable and relates. But then I feel their energies, I'm not super spiritual, but like I'll feel so sad for them if something bad happens, or those types of things. So like underneath, like I'm extremely caring, and I'll go to the ends of the earth for people. And I don't care who they are or where they've come from, or man, woman, race. It's just as long as they're like not an asshole.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the whole gym is like that.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah, you can't necessarily put that on the website though.
Yeah, I know. Look,
I've
been pushing the boundaries with Rob a bit. I've got this like doormat at home, and he's like, when you get to like 100 and whatever members, you might be able to take your doormat, and it just says GCs only. I'm like, I'm not asking for it to go on the wall just at the door. He's like, no.
Obviously, good characters only, right? Yeah.
Yeah, good characters. If you know.
Talk to me about the, I suppose, the sacrifices you've got to make in running a small business.
I think small business, running a gym is one of the most underrated jobs in the world. And because most people think, oh, I'll just rock up and take a class and then they go lay on the beach. And I'm like, no, not really, ever. And so, I spoke to Eddie, my partner, and said, this is at least 6 months. We're just going to park things for 6 months. And even family or friends or whatever, it's like, you can't do a lot more. Like my time off is from midday Saturday, and I then need to go and lay down and rejuvenate, or be by myself. Like I just need to rejuvenate a little bit like that. So the sacrifices more are like, they're not that hard for me, because I love being in the gym. I have to force myself to get out of there. And I don't have kids, and I never ever wanted to have kids. So it's, I've got cats. They miss out a little bit. And when I say I've got cats, I walk them on a lead and push them in a pram. So,
a crazy cat lady.
Absolutely. I usually wait till I've met people, so they get a bit more of my personality before they learn that about me. That evens out the judgment.
They don't run away.
But it's also part of the character, right? So, the sacrifice is sleep. Like, that's the hardest thing for sure. And because sleep is so important, it is the ultimate thing. And so winding yourself up for the afternoon class, and then getting out and getting home and winding down, having a little bit of time to yourself and getting to sleep to get back up. Yeah. That's definitely the hardest thing.
Yeah. What do you reckon with your sleep patterns? What do you average in a night?
Like 6 max.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not enough for me.
Yeah. And how have you found that, like, physically with your performance, like running classes and, you just keeping fit? Like, what have you found?
My training definitely it suffers. But then it's like I'm at average 20,000 steps a day, because I'm very active in my classes. The classes give me energy, right? So as long as I'm there, as soon as that class is on, that I'm fine. I'm rejuvenated in that space. Not always, occasionally not, but generally it's just afterwards, then I'm like, and then zapping my own energy sometimes with, overthinking, or my mind goes too fast for me to be able to keep up, making sure everyone's okay. So that's why I've got myself a coach, like just to work on circuit breakers from work to home, circuit breakers of what is my responsibility within the gym to my members versus what is not. And it's not my responsibility to make sure everybody is okay in every aspect of their life. They have to be okay within the realm of the service we're providing.
Yeah, so 6 hours, and is that hard to switch off before that? It is. Okay.
Yeah, the wind down for me is hard.
It's hard, yeah.
It's not the getting up. I'll wake up anyway. Yeah, it's just the winding down and putting myself to bed, you know, which is a discipline like that I just have to be better at.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to switch off your personality too, right? Like, you get a bit of an idea just from knowing you for a short period of time.
Yeah, pretty revved up, you know.
But, you know, you're an intense, passionate character, right? And you've got things that you want to do, and you've, you care and you want to do things right. Like, you can pick that up quite easily, and then switching that off at night.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm actually extremely fortunate in my partner's mother lives with us. And so most people in Australia were like, what do you mean, your mother-in-law? And at first I was a bit apprehensive, but given the circumstances of where she was, it was not really a choice. And we're like, look, she'll come and we'll work it out later. So he's originally from Fiji, so she's Fijian, and she does all my washing, cooking. And when I say cooking, like the meal is prepared when I walk in the door for lunch and dinner. She hand makes the roti, and she's very non-invasive. She's just like an absolute godsend. Yeah. And I couldn't work this much without her. And I said recently, imagine if I had said no, just because I was worried, you know, like when she's just come and enhanced my life so much. So I'm super grateful for that. And she's just a sweet, you know, real warrior spirit kind of woman that creates a beautiful ambience and
settles you.
Yeah. If Eddie's not home, because he can be unsettling. But it's just silent. It's like, it's not how I grew up. It's just this really beautiful ambience in the home that I love coming home to. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. Just say yes.
Yeah. Just say yes. I'm like, Matt, everyone was like, your mother-in-law. I'm like, well, look, my mum sure ain't coming to live with us, you know, but it's a completely different scenario. And that's their culture, you know, so I can't be out here parading X, Y, and Z. Like, that's his culture. It's his house too, right? So we have to try. If it doesn't work, we'll deal with it then.
I was listening to something interesting just in society though, how we've been, I don't know, programmed, and whether it's an Australian thing or worldwide, but we've been programmed that, okay, well, once you grow up, you should leave the house, you know, and you get your own house and you know, pay your own bills and do all that. And there's just a doubling of money going out, right?
Yeah,
and all this sort of stuff, instead of, you know, like I know I've got what is she, nearly 17? And it's like, it's fast coming up that she's probably going to want to move out.
Oh, I don't know, Dan. They stay till 30 these days, I've heard.
Well, I wouldn't mind that, because I don't want her to move out.
Yeah.
You know, and not just from a financial point of view for her, but, you know, it's just like, you know, support her with what she wants to do and set herself up in life and all that sort of thing. But, you know, I want to spend more time with her too, selfishly. You know? But no, it's funny just how like it is unusual for that. But like Polynesian cultures are really good with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, whether they like it or not.
Well, like I'll post her on social media. Like I'll post the food, or you know, she does her little exercises in the garage. And I've had people from different nationalities comment to me to say thank you for like sharing this, because it's always a really hard thing, our culture and the sort of culture of looking after our parents in this society is really hard. I don't post her for that reason. That hadn't entered my head, but I was like, oh wow, like that's, you never know who you're inspiring, right? And it's like just sharing, the power of sharing is so strong.
Yeah. How have you found that, like with the social media side of trying to market your business and things like that?
I'm consistent, right? Whether I'm good at it or not, you can always be better. But I think that consistently, like it's working because we don't do any other marketing. And so all of our people coming through the door come through our social media or referrals of members that we already have.
What do you find? Instagram is probably the best for you?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely Instagram. Word of mouth is obviously first and foremost, but then Instagram. And so, again, we touched on this before, but if I go to another gym and I'm looking at it and they don't have anything on their Instagram for the last 3 years, I'm not going to go there. I don't know what they're up to. Or, you know, like consistency on there tells the story that you're going to get consistency within the gym. It's like the 16 days. If I miss a day, then I'll be having cardiac arrest. But I
Well, it says a
won't
little
miss
bit-
a day, right?
yeah.
But it's like everything's consistent. Okay, cool. If Courtney says that we're going to do that, we are going to do that. It's not like, oh, yeah, but last time. You know, so it's building your reputation by doing.
It's the shop window now. Like websites used to be, I suppose, 5, 10, 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
now it's sort of more,
Yeah.
that social media
So
side of
I
things.
created a website too. That was the first time I'd actually done that. Stayed up till 2 o'clock one morning because I couldn't stop until I'd finished. And it's pretty basic, but it just does help, right? People go, it just links directly into our software. And since we've had the website and the new software, like just the natural flow of people through the door has really increased.
Oh, well, that's great that you don't have to do any other advertising, you know, or pay for advertising,
Yeah.
things like that. It's all through that, yeah.
Well, I'd never had to before because I've ran gyms for other people. And when I worked out how much it cost, I was like, so expensive.
Yeah.
We did run a couple of ads early on. It was like $200 a day or something.
Yeah.
And for the quality of leads that came through versus the people that come through the Instagram, they didn't even compare.
How have you gone with, like, you know, having the F45 and different things like that? I suppose you probably got to chase members with that, but, you know, maybe, you know, the work that you did in the mining and different things where you've got work coming to you all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to create it. Like,
Yeah.
how have you found that
So
change?
that was probably my biggest, let's say, fear, for lack of a better word. And that's where I had to trust myself.
Okay. Just like that natural thing of, oh, no one's going to turn up to my party
Yeah,
type
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You know, like,
yeah. And, you know, I've been like, in the early days, there was maybe one person would come to a class, I'd still be there. There'd be none. I think that was only a couple, but I'd still be there. One person, 2 people, 20 people, I will still deliver my class exactly the same and have always been like that. And I think that's really important because it's only one person because every single person matters. And then as far as, you know, we're coming to 6 months and, you know, it's really like, I rang Rob last week, like, Rob, we need a plan for when we go bananas because I think we're about to go bananas.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of really taking off. So it's trusting yourself, you know, trusting that what you believe in and what you're delivering will get to the right people and they will come.
that little sixth sense you have about, okay, I think it's going to kick off. Like, what are the little triggers for you? Like, what are
It's sort of like when everything sort of starts happening at once, like out of nowhere, 10 people have just registered for a trial without me having a conversation with them.
Okay.
You know, so they've just come.
So normally you'd be having a conversation and
or they've
they want to know more.
messaged. Yeah, things like that. So they'll register and book in for a class, you know, rather than just register and ask for information.
Yeah. That
You know, like a
conversion
number of
system.
memberships, people just signing up for members without any sort of sales funnel. I'm not super salesy. Like, I will not ring people up 10 times ever because I hate it when people do that to me. You know, I trust in what we're delivering. So if they're on a trial and they come and they do the classes there and I present the memberships, that's as far as it's going. I'll keep them in a database and maybe ping them something once in 6 months, but I'm not going to call them 10 times. I think that makes a difference as well. Because some people will do a trial and something will happen and then, you know, a couple of months they'll come back.
Yeah.
And that's happened. But they're not going to come back and be embarrassed that they had to ignore 10 of my calls.
Those little triggers of they're just turning up without a conversation. That's,
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I'll have someone say, oh, my mate from work's coming in on Monday, and that'll be like 3 members will say that. And they're your best leads, right? Because they're coming in with a mate who's told them it's great. They trust the mate. They're going to come in. We
They're
deliver.
sponsoring them as such.
They're going to stay. And they're the best as well because they're already in the culture. Anyone they bring in, you assume, is going to sort of embody similar values.
Yeah. No, that's exciting.
I think generally, like, everyone's scared to go to a new gym, me included, if it's a new gym. Because there's so many people who will say, oh, my partner wants to come, but she's scared. I'm like, but have you told her about the gym? And it's like, he'll be like, yeah, I've told her. Well, what have you told her? That she's still scared. And I think that the best way is just to keep making that huge welcome on their first day. But then every day. They need to get that every day.
Yeah.
It's not just a sales pitch there. one of the young fellas rocked up late the other day, and we were just doing the warm-up, and we were just at a point where we were like, I don't know, twisting our hips, and I was just got the whole class to like dance and cheer for him as he walked in, and he was like, I was so stoked because I thought you were going to yell at me, but everyone just cheered and started dancing. And, it's like you don't want people to feel you're going to be late sometimes.
Life happens.
Yeah, well, you're going to be lifted up in our gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest message. One rises, everyone rises. We're there for them, and we'll be culture over money forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. What about when, you come back from Amsterdam and you weren't sure what you're going to do, and you had COVID and you went into like mining and a corporate
Well, they
stuff?
approached me actually.
Yeah, okay.
On LinkedIn.
Okay.
With this job. And it was like a very unique type of job. Like it's like, here's this 6-star state-of-the-art facility that's being built. We need someone to run it, and it's not a salesy job. And I was like, are they for real? Like, that sounds epic. And again, I was like a bit out of my depth, but I'll give it a crack. And 2 panelled interviews, like suited up. I was like, how the hell am I in this room? Amazing experience.
Yeah.
I learned heaps of great things, and learned some like hard lessons about humanity in that job, in that role, in that environment. Learn a lot about like what is rich, what's rich to you, what's rich to me. 2 very different things.
Yeah, and I'd imagine too, probably seeing what not to do with some people, and then doing others. Was there ever a thought like of before you started with the gym now? Was there ever a thought of I want to continue doing that sort of stuff, working for someone else, or was it clear that, hey, I'm not doing
So how the gym came about, so when I left like corporate mining, I then went on site for a different company for a few months.
Okay.
It was very clear that I was never going to work in mining again, so that's for sure. And I was pretty sure that, I really have a defiance issue. And you have to be a good person or I'm not going to respect you. And unfortunately, a lot of the people in the hierarchical roles are not. Not all, but
that's your experience.
And they're just like, I want to go there. They are climbing for money and power. And I'm like, I'm more about real power. I used to call it fake power in those worlds. But I would have worked in perhaps community environments. Like I'm never working for someone ever again.
Yeah.
I would have worked for John Haynes if he had have landed at Waste before. But how the gym came about was Rob, who's my business partner. He was diagnosed with a stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma last November. I know you briefly met Rob many years ago. And he's initially from New Zealand, so he's got the Kiwi blood. And he just had like enormous warrior spirit through that. Most people hear stage 4 cancer diagnosis and, it's very confronting. Anyway, he had to have a couple of months very heavy sort of treatment. He was off work. His fiance was pregnant with their first child.
Goodness, yeah.
And he was just so like, he was never going to die from that. He was just not. He was so humble and calm, and he started collecting boxing bags through the treatment. And he'd just start messaging me photos of these boxing bags. And I'd be like, and then just rang me and said, look, I'm going to do this with or without you. I'd just rather do it with you. And I'm like, listen to him. Like, he's fucking lost all his hair. He's going through chemotherapy, radiation. And he's like, what are we going to do next, And I was like, fuck, it's a fuck yes for me. Like, absolutely, let's go. And he went into remission, I think I said before. But yeah, he's just such an inspiring person for me. Like he's basically my best friend now. We speak every day. I value his opinion on everything and guidance. And we are the same in that if he tells me to do something differently or vice versa, like it's not because we're tearing each other down, and we both like wholeheartedly know that. Yeah. We want each other to win. We want everyone to win. Like that's what we're about. And very rarely do you work in a team like that where you're like, oh, I fucked up. He's going to be real mad. Like he's not going to be mad. and vice versa. And I think that's sort of the culture that we want to have, and we want to teach other people to have that same culture, because when you have that, everyone does better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how it came about. There's very few people I would have done it with, and I feel very grateful to have that opportunity with him and his family, because like we're like family now. Like that's it. We'll be like bound together forever. And yeah, we're very different. Like I'm the loud one. I'd
be concerned if
the
you're
members,
the quiet.
yeah. The members will be like, Rob's like just commands the silent respect, but he still commands it, but I'm like commanding it. So yeah, we'd go to meetings in the beginning, and we would meet with like the property manager or whatever, and I'd be like, right, so we're going to go here, we want to do this, and he'll just silent. Afterwards he'll go, what do you reckon? And I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, he's just like a sounding board. He's like a very grounding force in business. You know, often I'm on the phone having a bit of a rant, and he'll just start laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing? It's not funny. But now I think, okay, before I get upset, what would Rob do? You know, and that's kind of what we want other people to do within the gym. Like I'm literally like, Rob's gone through all of that fear. And there's nothing scarier than a stage 4 cancer diagnosis when you, and here he is. He's just a calm, collected, smart, caring person.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Though.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, I suppose, you know, starting a gym and a boxing gym, it's so much more than that, right? Like it's just a platform for so much more. And, particularly it's, been really cool just to sort of understand like where all that sort of come from for you know, and why you're so passionate about that stuff. You got some pure motives there. So, new culture movement.
Yeah.
Lou.
Come on in and have a bang.
Yeah. So there's a 7-day free trial. We'll put all your details in the show notes and everything like that. And, on Instagram as well, like the 16 days in WA sort of things going on at the moment, which is cool to see and hear from the members on their thoughts. Yeah. Been a pleasure, Courtney.
Nice to meet you, Dan. Thanks so much for having me on. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you again soon.
Hopefully I'm holding the mitts right. Yeah.
I'll teach you.
Yeah. Not another one. No, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.